Finn goes nanners, Stewart has a breakdown. It's that's the catch line right there.
That's really accurate, though. That's
Yep.
the problem, isn't
Yep.
it? It's really verging on what actually takes place. Man, there is nothing else like this out there.
Down with
This
reality.
is
I
like the end
apologize.
of the night, isn't it? You know,
Oh, I
like
know.
way where you've gone way overboard.
Oh,
We've done it
wow.
the
What
wrong
did
way
we
round.
do? What did we do? I'm
I'm going to
so
have
sorry.
regret in the morning. What did I
Yes.
say? What did I say?
Oh my God. I said that out loud. Huh. That's going to be a problem.
Man, all I seem to do in my writing and podcast now is alienate people, alienate whole swathes of the community. I've never been more popular. I've never been more. I don't get it. The angrier I get, the worse I get. You know what I mean? The more people are like, "Oh yeah, right on, man."
I think you just become popular because you're one of the few people who's just telling the truth.
Well, it's like this whole agentic thing, you know. It really is. I used the term I probably shouldn't have in a post earlier this week, which is strap on an agent and everything will be good, you know, because
Yep.
it's kind of like we don't have to look at the data, we don't have to revisit the workflows, we don't have to do anything. We just
No.
literally magic it away with AI, you know. And the worst thing is that somebody put in a comment. When was it? 35-year-old research. It was by a chap and he was saying, don't pave the cow paths with AI. Effectively, that's the translation today. And basically, the whole thing was, for goodness sake, you know, if we've got, and this was the advent of just computing, you know, back then.
Yep.
And he was saying, no, we need to revisit all the broken processes. We need to reimagine how we're going to do work. But of course, we never actually did that. We just took the paper format and then we made it the digital format, and everything was exactly the same, except now it's worse.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Why improve?
Automate the dysfunction.
Yeah, exactly. Let's kick this off. It's our second episode. The last episode, I haven't even looked at the views, but it got more than 10. So I'm sort of proud. We broke at least a few hundred views. We might have broken 1,000. I mean, since I haven't looked, it's kind of like Schrodinger's episode. It could be anything. I mean, we could have done 1 million. Who knows?
Did it happen?
Yeah, I know. It might have happened until I look at the stats. They can be whatever I want them to be.
Unfortunately, someone DM'd me to say, "Man, I both was in hysterical laughter and I was really depressed." Listen, I actually got that DM, yeah, from the last time. So, yeah, so it's kind of like, I felt good and bad about that.
I said something nice about a CEO. I know that's weird for me. I know normally I'm the one going, "Oh, well, that's complete trash and you're an idiot." No, but I do also call out the people who are having some success with this. And Benioff came out and said something that a lot of CEOs have said. He said, look, we're seeing 30, sometimes up to 50% of our work is now being done by AI. And I've seen these things work. I've talked to people inside of Salesforce engineering. I just talked to one last week. I've talked to the customers who are using this. It works. Is it perfect? Yeah. No, and I think that's the interesting dichotomy is that, yeah, that's why they're saying it's only 30 to 50% because it isn't perfect, is it? But as soon as I said that, just the comments that you see from people, and I've seen this with almost everything that I do when I say something positive or when I highlight something that a company says, hey, we've done this. Doesn't matter if others have done it. Like Google has said this, IBM has said this, Microsoft has said this. All of these different companies have come out and said, look, we're seeing, and I mean 30%, it's oddly specific. That number keeps coming up again and again and again in different domains around the enterprise. So either dozens and dozens of CEOs are all lying to you. Of some of the largest publicly traded companies, they're all lying to you. Or there's genuinely this divide where some companies have figured out how to do it. And the ones that seem to bubble up and say, oh, this is complete trash, I look at it and I say, well, no, because there's so many of these companies that have already shown you, and it's showing up in their quarterly earnings statements where they're saying, look, these cost savings, these increased margins that we're experiencing, this is AI. All of these other expenses that we're incurring because we're ramping up spending on AI, what do you think they're getting offset by? It's cost reductions. And those cost reductions are primarily coming from AI. So it's real, it's there, it's proven. And so I start asking myself, what would it take to convince people that this is real? Not that AI is replacing, not that AI is human level performance, because we know that's garbage. But what would it take for people to believe 30, maybe 50% in some domains is automatable? And I mean, because the narrative is, oh, I'm just a corporate shill. And yeah, I appreciate that. Yes, I am. And thank you. That's how I get paid. But I'm also not wrong. This is a theme that
Yeah.
we see over and over and over again. You can be a corporate shill. Yes, I have a consulting company and I have clients, and so yes, I do have a corporate side to me, but that doesn't mean these things are wrong. These are publicly traded companies. They have, fiscal responsibilities. These CEOs can't just make stuff up or they get sued by shareholders. So this is real, but what's it going to take for these companies to figure this out, to just sort of say, okay, I've seen enough? Like, what's the bar of proof?
Well, I don't know if there'll ever be a sufficient bar of proof for many. I think the hype has created some of that problem, and understandably too. We've all become hype weary, so we've all become, well, a lot of us are becoming more skeptical now. That's fine. As soon as you put a percentage to something like 30% success rate, what that equates to in a lot of people's mind now is 70% failure rate. So then the whole narrative is twisted to, well, look, these things fail, oh, it hasn't done what it said it was going to do, etc., etc. But I'm in exactly the same position as you, except you can cite publicly available things. Okay. So from my perspective, it's all behind NDAs, it's all behind firewalls, it's all behind. So the most recent one, which was at the end of last week, was a large household name in Britain, a financial institution had embedded, I think it was nearly a dozen agents into production, right into the heart of the credit card system. Okay, I can't go into any more detail than that, right? And it was difficult for them to do it. It was difficult for them to get there, but they got there, and they are seeing measurable ROI because of it. Another example is I know a company that builds, and they were originally from Google, and they've set up independently, and they were approached by uh, a, um, a globally known media company that comes out again of Britain. And what they wanted was, they wanted agents to deal with literally hundreds of millions of visitors and to individualize subscription packages. Okay, this is operational, and the uplift is 30%. Okay, so this
That
is
number,
massive,
that number just keeps coming up.
massive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
huge.
And the thing is that all I can do, and I've done it twice now, and people have to deal with you on how they perceive you as a person in terms of integrity. I can say this, but I can't say who. And so some people are going to be naysayers, understandably, don't know me from Adam, and will say, well, yeah, we've only got your word for that. That's absolutely true. Equally, I've got to say it without, as long as I stay within those legal boundaries, because I do want people to understand that some people are accelerating quietly with no noise, no big fanfare on LinkedIn. And what worries me is that in chucking out the baby with the bathwater and going the other way against the hype, it's all rubbish. So many then are only going to discover to their horror down the line how far in front some are and how uncatchable they are. So we're in a real dilemma at the moment, and I'm sympathetic to both. I understand why they've both happened, but equally, this is happening. I don't know
Yeah,
how else to say it.
yeah, I think you nailed it. And I mean, for me, obviously, working with clients, there are people I can't talk about. There
Yep.
are work, there's things that I can't talk about. And you're right. Retail is one space where I can tell you that there are companies in retail that are so far behind the pack.
Yep.
And the gains that they're seeing, the capabilities that they have already developed and they're deploying, are so far ahead of their competitors that I don't know what their competitors do in about 12 to 18 months
That's the
when
timeline.
customers begin to have these expectations for everyone. Financial services. I talked to somebody yesterday who is, she has extensive experience in financial services. And she told me, across the board, people don't understand how much AI is being used right now
Yeah.
inside of financial services, inside of hedge funds, inside of banking. They don't understand how pervasive it is. They don't understand how much data is out there about consumers and about the markets, and how some companies are using this to deliver returns that the companies that aren't using it simply can't duplicate. Talking to people, people forget Meta, that's now about, it just made this big high, and now this is, it's a big AI push, and that's in the news. But people forgot in 2022, it was on the outs.
Yeah.
Advertisers did not want to use Meta's platform anymore. They were leaving because the ads just weren't as effective after Apple removed all of that data, all that third party data that was getting shared. And Meta had sort of this existential crisis where they had to turn things around, turn to AI and their first party data to improve and beef up their marketing and their advertising platform. And over the last 3 years, they've returned to dominance as an ad platform and become a platform of choice on the back of this AI marketing platform that they've delivered. You talk to marketers, they're like, yeah, it's best in class. I mean, there's very little out there like it. Even Google's capabilities aren't quite the same as Meta's. And Meta could, with this marketing platform, really run away with things where we have extreme consolidation on a few platforms. Because what does AI do? It makes your ads more effective, and it opens up this construct of multimodal generative AI. It opens
Yeah.
up new types of advertising that are significantly better integrated into content, so they're not as annoying, not as abrasive. They're more engaging than any other type of advertising content really has ever been. And marketers now with these tools can create them without all of these ad agencies and with all this overhead of creating these ads. So advertisements going to get more accurate, meaning the targeting will be better, and they'll convert at significantly higher rates than they used to. And the platforms that can deliver this are going to get the majority of the ad dollars, whereas everybody else is just kind of going to be moved off, into no man's land. And they're not going to be able to monetize through ads in the same way that they have historically. So you're going to see this consolidation. So you've nailed it. I mean, just in every single industry I'm seeing, whether it's, I'm seeing behind the curtain or these are publicly available sort of use cases, you are seeing the stratification that you're talking about. And it's a huge problem because 12 to 18 months from now, companies wake up and realize I'm 2 or 3 years behind. These companies aren't standing still, they're accelerating. So in 2 years from now or 1 year from now, when I've caught up, they'll have even better capabilities. So I'm not just behind, I can't even catch up to their back leg.
No. And this isn't just, we can judge this based on ad revenue, for example, with Meta. We can base it anecdotally through our experiences. But so I've stopped posting on it, and this is to do with hyper personalized multimodal
Yep,
advertising to individuals. I stopped posting on the research because it began to feel borderline like, whoa, just
oh,
in
it's Black
terms of
Mirror stuff. Yeah,
unbelievable when they
yeah,
start, because they would do the research, set against traditional or human led or whatever it was. There was no comparison. It
yep,
was almost borderline, like felt like manipulation. It was so powerful, so unbelievably powerful. And so I stopped posting that because I did post one that was kind of questioning the ethics of it. Then I left it alone because I thought to myself, well, you're not going to stop the march of progress. This is going to
yep,
continue. This is just how it is. The economics are too good. But the research was just staggering. The degree of click through rates for those that in these research papers compared to all the other types of digital advertising, they weren't even comparable. They were not
yep,
comparable, and they are hyper personalized to you, to what you've been doing, to the content you consume, to the things you
yep,
enjoy. Unbelievable, to right down to even geolocation and things like that, to the point where it's just so precise. It's written for you, and it is literally written for you. It's spun up there and then, and that like when you think and it's the same when I look across all industries. when you look at how far behind, when you look at the research, and when you look at these frontier companies that are the ones that are actually able to implement this research or take the time to implement this research, because they can do that, they just get so far in front. And talking about AI gains, just I had a wonderful conversation a week or two ago. They were a lot of this industrial machinery, like cheese making and things like that, right? Industrial machinery has tons and tons and tons and tons of data that nobody does anything with. And so all they what they did was did this no code platform to draw out this data into these sort of this generative landscape, to be able to give this data back in a way that was very consumable, with these sort of highly individualized and spun up at the time reports and dashboards. It was magnificent to watch. And then this 30% is going to come up again. They could reduce downtime by 30%. They could reduce anomalies by so it goes both ways, even into the traditional sort of like boring industries, as we'd look at it, that this is being leveraged.
Yeah, and you think about that, you're like, okay, so what? Well, that company can now price differently than a company who can't do that.
Yep.
So
Forecasting.
AI creates, yeah,
Yep.
AI capabilities, predictive capabilities,
Yep.
create the ability for pricing power. You talk about marketing, and I've
Yep.
been doing behavioral modeling since almost the beginning of V Squared back in, it really started in 2014, tried to start in 2012. Yeah, that client they didn't decide to close on that one.
Valiant effort, Vin.
Yeah,
Valiant
I
effort.
tried, but they said, no, no, we'll pass.
uh,
Thanks though.
yeah.
And so, I mean, been doing behavioral modeling for a very long time.
Mm.
And what you find is, yeah, the differentiation, the ability to deliver significantly more accurate, more personalized advertising and marketing content, the ability to prepare people. This is something that we started doing in 2019 and 2020, right before the pandemic. Working with retail clients, we started preparing customers for what we knew were price increases to come. I
Yeah.
mean, you didn't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out inflation was coming, especially when you looked at the pandemic and you said, "Huh, I wonder what this will do." You knew inflationary forces were becoming too great to hold back. And so there were some companies that did marketing to prepare customers for certain segments of products to go up in price. And what you found is that was extraordinarily effective because customers for the first 2 years didn't react as strongly as they did, sort of later on when you see 2023, 2024. All of a sudden that really came up and then pricing became a major issue. But they were able to push off price sensitivity in the consumer for years because they marketed and advertised effectively. They controlled the messaging around it. So it's not just buy my product. You can use marketing to create pricing power.
Oh, I
You
love
can
that.
use efficient operating models, your case study, to
Mm.
create pricing power because our
Mm.
operations are significantly more efficient than the competition's.
Yep.
Therefore, we can either make higher margins, which means our stock price goes up while yours, not so much, or we can price lower and take your market share away from you to create growth that way, to get customers to come to us because we can price and still be profitable at levels that you can't.
Yeah.
And so we can take your, if you're a larger competitor, we can just take your market share away from you because you would have to operate at a loss to compete with us. Companies don't realize how significant of a threat these constructs are. Using AI is a difference maker at so many levels, and it's a lever for strategic advantage. It creates advantage. And if you're not capable of leveraging technology to create those types of advantages, you are, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but you're cooked.
If you like that insight, there's more in Vin's courses. Check them out at datascience.vin and take 10% off with the coupon code podcast.
You're so far behind at
Don't you
this
call
point
them
that it's
zombie
over.
companies? Zombie
Yeah, I call them
companies.
zombie companies in my
They're
courses.
walking dead.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah, I
Yep.
love that. So the upshot is that we are both seeing both traditional machine learning AI and generative AI become powerfully embedded in supply chain, in industry, in finance, in advertising, and on, whilst there's still a great deal of denial out there, a great deal of just looking at the flaws, and that the main concern is that that gives the C level the to be able to feel, oh well, look, it's probably all nonsense anyway, it's all going to
It'll be
go
fine.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that sort of 18 to 24 month shock. And what I'm talking about here actually, and is what I call the transition period. Because people say to me, they say, and this goes for employment as well. People say to me, "It's the march of progress, Stuart. You're worrying about nothing. We'll all just transition, and the companies will transition, and people will transition."
No.
Well, yeah, eventually, but what scares me is what I call this sort of transition period, because I think this abrupt thing is going to come, bang, and then there's the period of kind of recovery and what the heck do we do now. A lot a lot of people potentially have to change their careers. A lot of companies are going to disappear on us. I'm not gleeful about these things. I want to make that clear. I'm saying this as I see it, I'm calling it as I really genuinely see it right now. And this transition period, so we're not preparing, and that's the part that worries me. So yes, I do agree, these things are perhaps a natural evolution of the technology, but it's coming so fast.
Yep.
I'm not a hypist. People know that I'm cautious and realistic, and as grounded as I possibly can be. Obviously, I go off the reservation sometimes. That's fair, but ultimately, this is impacting. It's being done quietly, and I do worry that people and companies, businesses, and the C level are unprepared. There you go.
I
I
don't
hope
think
that
they
doesn't
are.
depress people. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like we're supposed to be funny and we're not right now. So that's
Yeah. Sorry about that,
I feel like
folks.
we brought,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry if,
About that,
well, I
So
feel like
yeah.
this is the duality of what we're creating. On
Oh,
one side, yeah, no, this is serious experience, serious research. And
yep.
between the two of us, I think we have something like 60 years of experience
Yep.
in
Oh gosh,
technology.
don't. My
So yeah, I
goodness.
mean,
Yeah.
yes, we are trying to be entertaining and educational at the same time, but I mean, a lot of this is if we don't present the research, if we don't present the factual basis
Yep.
for this, if we don't present what we are seeing and what we are building and what we've seen work, there is, yeah, it's all fun and games until you actually need to walk away with something actionable from this. And so I would say the
Yeah.
actionable
Yeah.
piece of this is you have to set a threshold, you have to set a bar. And if you're a skeptic, that's fine. Good, be skeptical. But you have to set a bar where you say, at this threshold of proof, I'm going to change. I'm going to respond to this new information and I'm going
Yeah.
to change my view on it. And here's the action I'm going to take. Because no
Yeah.
matter how skeptical you are today, you can't say AI will never. You can't say information will never
Yep.
disrupt. It will eventually. So that's, I guess, what we're asking you to do. Even cheat sheets. I think
Cheat
everyone
sheets.
loves a
Oh
good
man.
cheat sheet, right?
Ah,
Everyone
just
wants a
just
good
just give
cheat
me the
sheet.
100 prompts I need,
Yeah,
man, and I'm going to start
I
a
just
billion
want
dollar company.
I just want some cheat sheets. And what I'm going to do is I'll throw a couple of these up and give you a little bit of compare and contrast.
Yeah, but
I
I've got,
sure.
I've got to make a confession here. And as I was reading them, I got the tinnitus went up and the eyes blurred, and this great lethargy came over me, and
Yep,
lament and
yep.
malaise. Sorry, but yeah, I'll,
No,
I'll comment on that.
it's the real thing, right? It really
Yeah,
is. This is the reality of it. I bring up the first one here, which is this is from CS 221 at Stanford. It's a bit dated. It's from six years ago now. But this is what cheat sheets look like. Yeah, this one's one of the ones that made your eyes glaze over. This is this is definitely one of the ones that made you glaze over. It's the VIP cheat sheet on state-based models. But this is a real cheat sheet. This is something that you can look at, read through, and you get a good summary of what each one of these mean. But when you see the math, when you see all of the symbols and everything else behind it, you begin to realize, oh, this is kind of complicated. All right.
hmm
So there's math behind this. And if I don't understand the math, I'm in trouble. But especially with generative AI, you need that context, or you don't know what questions to ask the model. You don't know what responses are important from the model. And so I'm showing a couple of examples of what a normal sort of cheat sheet looks like in the academic sense. And then you have 24 rules to
There it
break
is. That's
into
the
the
one.
world of AI. 24 rules.
Yeah,
Take online courses in AI fundamentals.
yeah.
Which ones?
All of
So,
them.
what am I supposed
All
to
of
just
them.
Google? Yeah, let me Google AI fundamentals. So, step one is like 8 years in college. That's like
I know.
Is that the dumbest thing? I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be lighting this company on fire. Literally, I mean, it's already named AI Fire, so I guess I want to be lighting a fire. But this is so ridiculous. Master Python. Okay, so that's 2 years.
God, that's
Experiment
good.
with intuitive machine learning platforms. Okay, 6 years. I mean, because
I
there's
know.
like hundreds of them. Study the basics of neural net. The basics. You just
Yeah.
saw that last cheat sheet. Does that look basic? Does any of this look basic to you? I mean, I look at this 24 rules to break into the AI world. By the time you get to five, you know this is complete garbage. None of this is actionable. And if you look at some of these other cheat sheets, some of these other examples that I've brought up, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to pick on. I don't mean to pick on this one poor company that puts out really terrible cheat sheets, but this is this type of stuff that you see online. This is the type of stuff you see on social media.
This is
And it
popular
creates
stuff.
this, yeah,
This is
this is what
popular
goes
stuff.
viral.
Yeah,
If I
I know.
tried to put up one of those other cheat sheets from, Stanford CS and went, hey, free resource, people would take one look at that and go, no, I like the other cheat sheet. Because I can just, I've read these things and I feel better, but I can't do anything with it. But it looks like it's so much simpler because it's nice little bullet points and
Yeah,
there's mathy words, but I don't have any sort of math, no Greek, thank you. Everything is still
yeah.
nice and easy. And I feel like we do a disservice to people who are trying to break into the field or people who are non-technical who are realizing I need to understand this stuff in a deeper way by making it look like this is just, oh, it's very easy. You just need this one, 3-month boot camp and you're good. And we set people up to be taken advantage of.
I couldn't agree more. And I can just draw in a personal story here. So I wanted to do courses, and the first one I went to was the big machine learning course, the famous one on Coursera. His name
Andrew
escapes me.
Ng's, yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Andrew
Yeah,
Ng's course, yep.
and
Everyone's
and
taken
it
that.
it
Yeah.
it was the most grueling, incredibly taxing thing I'd ever undertaken in my life. When I got the certificate at the end, I felt like there should have been global applause. Honestly, what do you mean? There's no numbers. You talk to me about mathematics and there's no numbers. I've got my calculator
But
ready. And it was that Greek script. And then before I knew it, exactly as you said, right? So, and then before you know it, that Andrew chap is straight into the Python. Let's get to PyTorch. Let's do this in Python, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, before I knew it, I was doing a basic statistics course to try to remind myself about
yep.
statistics from school. And then going, and I kept going backwards and backwards and backwards. Oh, I better remind myself how to do Python. So how do you do a variable in Python? Oh yeah, x equals. I remember now. Yeah, and having to sort of build and build and build and build, and let alone the drowning in Greek symbols and stuff like that. Now I did that, and it was agony. But you know what? And the point I'm trying to drive towards here is I'm glad I did, right? Would I recommend
Yep.
everybody do that? No. And the reason why is because as everything, is about context, is about what are your goals, okay? Now, from a product perspective, I confessed last time, I'm terrible at coding. I'm never going to be your data engineer and whipping up pipelines and all the rest of it. It's just not really, I have done it, by the way. I just want folk to know that. I've done it in the courses and I've done it in experimentation and things like that. Okay, so I have touched it and played with it. That's probably why I know how difficult it is, or at least for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it gave me a language. Okay, so what that meant was that when I was now in a generative AI startup, when I was now, shoulder to shoulder with researchers and engineers, I had a shared language. It was almost like I said before, coming to Spain, you're rubbish at speaking Spanish, but they appreciate the fact you made the effort. it's like, oh, bless, at least they tried, and it buys you some goodwill. It buys you some
Yeah,
goodwill. And from a product
yeah.
perspective, they appreciate that. And also, you're not starting from scratch. And actually, I've got into a lot of heated debates about whether there should be any such thing as an AI product manager. No, it's just about, well, you wouldn't have a product manager of toilets, would you? Well, perhaps you do. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that field. But because it's like, I wouldn't like to just go from the digital world straight to the sort of AI world and not know some of the fundamentals and some of the underpinnings of this, because now I understand what it can do. I can speak the language. I know its limitations. And I don't know. It just gives me a visual pattern of what's happening
Yeah,
underneath, which means
yeah.
I don't associate it with magic and you know ethereal thinking. Anyway, yeah,
No, and that's it. I think if you work with technical teams, you need a technical background.
mm,
Does that mean you need a CS degree? No. Does that mean that you have to have spent 10 years coding? No. But what you're talking about is a foundational understanding of
yeah,
technology. How do you build it? What does it take to build it? Because you need a couple of things, and I've been an engineer. We pad our estimates. I know I'm giving away a secret that no one's ever heard before. I know no one knows this. I've just gotten kicked out of the club because yeah, we do pad our estimates a bit. We do sometimes exaggerate what we need to do in order to deliver something that we think is stupid. I mean, we do tend to do some things that we have to be called out on by the business side of the world. And if you have that background, you can be credible. And I've got to
yeah,
be real. The leadership that I respect, the product and the strategists that I respect, those are the ones who came with a technical background. And they came at these problems asking the right questions, engaging, in the right places, capable of having conversations with C-level leaders where they were providing accurate foundational knowledge and literacy. That's what I respect. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been just purely an engineer, but still, that's what I really respected and appreciated working with. When you look at these cheat sheets, like this AI quick start guide, this just oversimplifies everything.
yeah.
If this is truly your technical foundational knowledge, where all you know is the buzzwords and a single line of definition behind each one of these buzzwords. Yeah, I get it. Even if you've taken engineering's course, even if you've seen the Greek, you don't really understand any of these symbols. And I get it. But you understand fundamentally that there's mathematics behind this.
Yeah.
And if we don't do the math modeling correctly, if the math isn't fundamentally sound, so if we say it's going to take us a couple of days to do the math review, you go, yeah, that's a real thing. If you don't do the math review, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. And
Yeah.
if you don't hear a team talking about that, if you hear a team who's like, no, there's no estimate in here for the math modeling and the review of the mathematical modeling or the experimental design and review component of it. You can kind of say, well, that doesn't sound right. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have this? But if all you have is this sort of, high level understanding, you can't work
It's not
with
enough.
technical teams.
You
Yeah.
because you were one of the first. You were the first person to point it out that I saw, which was the MIT and Sloan saying the same thing right at the beginning of this cycle, this tech boom cycle, which was we're missing translators and connectors, and what they
Yep.
meant by that was that we are missing the bridge between the person who can speak technical and translate to their language and the person that can speak to the business. I'm not gonna bore everyone with an old trope, but there is some truth to this, and I do think that if product had not become what it become, that's what it should be. But
Yep.
that aside, it does necessitate being bilingual, and being bilingual means that you have an understanding of both. It's a big ask. It's a big thing, to be able to speak to, because now not only have you got the business, the digital world was relatively well understood, but now we're talking about things to do with research where there's a lot of unknowns, especially if people want guarantees on roadmaps and timelines and things like that. You have to be able to speak that language to be able to, and also to be able to, and I don't mean this I hope nobody takes this the wrong way, but to be able to speak to researchers and data scientists and inculcate in them the business necessity especially if they're very
Yes.
research based and very
Yes.
academic based. And it's not their fault, but now we do have timelines. Now we do have to get down that runway and take off. Now we do have ROI. We have to justify ourselves and things like that. We do need to be able to put these, and so it's this kind of bi-directional relationship, not just between the business and the technology, but also between that middle person and both ways in and out. And that necessitates a deep understanding of both. I'm really laboured that. I'm a bit verbose today, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I mean, you're right. It's the translation component. And that's
yeah,
what I think a lot of technical ICs, and I didn't realize this when I was working in engineering. And I mean, for me, there was my moment of Zen was really 2010. I was sitting in a meeting, I was explaining a product and explaining the technology behind it. And I felt like, I understand how to build this. I understand how to make this thing real. Therefore, I should be the one taking the lead, taking ownership, because without me and my team, this doesn't get built. And everyone kept deferring to this other person who was the new VP of product. And I was like, what is everyone talking to this idiot for? And instead of sort of getting mad at that, getting mad at the translator, I just asked, I walked out of that meeting and I said, I learned something today.
yeah.
Why was everyone talking to that person who couldn't build this with a flashlight, a roadmap, and true written turn-by-turn directions? Why was everyone in the C-suite continuously deferring to this person instead of me?
Hmm.
And I began to realize it's the strategy, it's the business acumen, it's the ability to translate. That person could translate what I was saying, which none of these people understood. And I thought that gave me power. It didn't. It actually made me weaker. I didn't realize how important those translators are to
Yeah,
C-level leaders. It's not that, oh, I'm the person who understands this complex technical stuff, therefore they're going to defer to me and give me control. It's, I don't understand their needs. And that's all they're hearing is I'm talking about stuff that they don't understand and that doesn't matter to them. And it's the translator. It's the person who comes in and says, okay, so this is how this part of what he's saying is going to deliver value. This is when this thing is going to be able to deliver. This is how much revenue we can bank on from this thing. This is how much these pieces are going to cost. This is where it aligns, core strategy with our business's goals and with what we've promised we will deliver to shareholders. Here's where, and I did not understand how important that was because it wasn't just important to be able to build and deliver. It's also important to know what you should be building, to be able to select
oh,
the right things
exactly,
to build, the things that
exactly.
will deliver value. And there is a massive last mile problem. And AI has this bigger than any technology has in the past,
Hmm.
where it's not enough to just deliver the technology. You have to also deliver all of these other supporting components that integrate AI and agents into a larger platform with multiple technologies that re-engineer workflows, that do all of this other stuff that's required in order to deliver something that will be valuable, that customers will pay for, that the business will make money with. I didn't understand that. It was kind of eye-opening for me. And I think there's two sides to this cheat sheet problem. One, we don't explain very well how complex the technology side of this and how valuable the people that understand the technology are. But two, we don't talk enough about how valuable the translators are. And on the
Yeah,
technology side of the world, we don't appreciate technology translators. We call them PowerPoint jockeys, and we sort of marginalize their capabilities when in reality, without them, we are in a lot of trouble. Without them, we get downsized. I mean, if you want to know why so many groups get laid off, it's because they're cost centers. And the reason why they're cost centers is because you don't have a translator. You don't have these people who can keep you off the chopping block, who continue to align your work with business value. And so people say, I don't understand why technology is such an unstable job and such an unstable field. Why are we always getting laid off? And it's because we don't have these translators. We don't have people that allow the technology team to do what they're good at, which is focusing on the technology. Without those roles, you're constantly going through these cycles where everyone hires based on hype. The team becomes a cost center, and it eventually, no matter how popular the technology is, eventually the team gets reduced.
Yeah, well, because they're either not providing value to the business or they're not proving value to the business. And
Exactly.
proving value is just as important because if you can't communicate to the board, and bear in mind, like when I communicate to a board, it can be very different to how I communicate to the C level, to very different
Yep.
to how I communicate to my peers, to very different how I communicate to the technology team, to very different how and that's this is a multifaceted thing with technology just being a part. But the problem is that it becomes the whole of everything because we're so immersed. Oh, it's all about technology. And going to these cheat sheets, that's why I joked at the beginning about the feeling of lethargy and things like that. But because what you had was you had like some that were just sort of technology and then mathematics and
Yep.
equations and very technical, and then the others that are so vague and wishy-washy. And it's kind of like, you sort of think to yourself, gosh, I wish there was, some in between. And I guess that's what we're talking about. We're
Yeah.
talking about that in between space. And of course, it's the fact that we tend to gravitate, or at least being enmeshed in technology, we tend to gravitate towards technology being all is where it all goes wrong, especially from a product perspective, because
It is.
and even down to things like like speed of delivery, like
Yeah.
always get the engine product people have almost and I shouldn't say it, I get in trouble when I start all this, but anyway, product people have become like these delivery jockeys. Get the engineers to do more. It doesn't matter how fast you're going, folks,
Uh,
if you're
now there's an
going the wrong
image.
way.
Now there's an image.
Yeah, sorry. Honestly, and that's because it's all technology, folk. More lines of code, more this, more delivery, more features, more blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Absolute nonsense, all of it.
Uh,
When digital pollution, I tried to book a flight on the same landmass. It took me 3 days from Spain to Portugal, 3 days to book it because of digital catastrophe. I couldn't do it. My wife's like, and you're supposed to be in technology. What's the matter with you? And then she tried. I mean, there you go. There, see, wasn't me, was it? Absolute nightmare. I was screaming curses at the product people.
uh,
Oh, if I could have got them on the phone. Oh, do you know what? I'd taken a job at that
yeah.
airline just to bloody. Anyway,
Yeah.
but that's where we're at,
Buy
isn't
the
it?
airline just to fire that guy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's endemic, isn't it? Because technology, and
Yeah.
it's anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always get caught up. What is it about you? You draw out the worst in me. You really do.
All right.
Anyway,
No, we can't. We need to save some time for this last piece. We could probably talk about this for another 2 hours.
oh,
But
easy.
no,
Oh my goodness.
we've got this job. We've got this job
Hmm.
description, and oh,
Yeah,
it's a great opportunity. Yeah,
yeah.
I have truly been talking about seriously. Google hiring hot mess, and you will find a piece from me from 2016 where I was talking about this construct of a kitchen sink job description, and
Oh,
the reason why we have a shortage of talent is not because we truly have a shortage of talent. It's because companies don't know how to hire. And so enter this gem that you showed, and I'm going to let you take it away as I
yeah.
put this true opportunity to be the head of AI at. I'm not going to
No,
call out the
no
company. I won't
way.
do it.
No way.
It
No
is
way.
a consulting company. Let's just put it that way. It's in the consulting industry, and we'll stop at that with the domain and take it away, Stuart.
Yeah,
The opportunity of a lifetime.
this actually goes straight into the heart of cheat sheets, believe it or not. Because if
Yeah.
companies don't know what the heck they're hiring for, then how does anybody know what to learn in order to be hired for said job? And I'm not picking on this company in particular, by the way, but it was floated my way, and I looked at it and I just thought to myself a couple of thoughts which I've written down. I'll bring the spec sheet out. The first one is this is called the head of AI, but really this is can only be described as the single point of heroism. Now, when I broke this, I did myself a challenge segment, and by the way, I've got a challenge segment for us after this as well. We won't do it today, but I'll lay it down. What's the minimum number of people it would take to actually do this job? So I went through one AI ML engineer, one DevOps infrastructure expert, one data engineer, one product lead, one researcher, one manager mentor. That's my breakdown of this one job, right? So this is an entire department, right? This is not the team.
This is the
This is
person
just
responsible
you.
for taking a product from 0 to 1. Like literally, this
Who
person
knows? Who
doesn't.
I don't even.
This
There's no
person's doing the whole
team. It's
thing.
just you, some
Yeah.
Google Notes, and infinite responsibility. So anyway, must do research. You'll love all this:
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure, strategy, coding, hiring, presenting, PR, prototyping novel models, mentoring junior engineers, defining product strategy, publishing white papers, designing infrastructure, recruiting team. You'll get 100 grand for it a year, but don't worry because you get a learning budget. Must be able to master PyTorch, TensorFlow, JAX, Docker, Kubernetes, Spark, Kafka, CI/CD, MLOps, ELT, ETL, SQL, no SQL, DSL, BFG. WTF? I shouldn't have said that bit. Right now, the thing was that this was basically like a what are you hiring for? I have no idea because it was data engineer, ML ops lead, product mind sales, unpaid therapist. I don't know, but responsibility is everything. Basically, benefits of vibes. Now, the challenge I'd like to put down for us for next time is each of us has got to write one red flag job spec line and make the other defend it for 30 seconds. Something
Oh
like
yes.
should be
Oh yes.
comfortable leading a team you haven't hired yet with a budget that doesn't exist, because that definitely rung true in this one. I just couldn't help it. But we this is not to pick on this company, right? This is endemic, and I know it's endemic in cybersecurity. In fact, so much fun to be had. Must have 10 years experience in a technology that's only existed for 3 years. I've
Yes.
seen it. I know
Hands-on
you've
experience
seen
going
it.
back to Bert. Bert.
12 years experience in generative AI.
Bert. Like that. If you're in the field and you've been in the field as long as I have, to see the word Bert in a job description, it's just one of those.
Wonderful.
You're an idiot.
Wonderful.
I mean, there's no other response to someone except if you want experience in Bert. Huh.
Is there a cheat sheet for that?
Interesting.
You could go viral, Vin.
Yeah,
You could go viral. Vin's 10 cheats for Bert.
I could probably
Love it.
convince a good 1,000 to 2,000 people to like a cheat sheet about Bert and calling it a viral model. Even though it's like from 2019.
Guaranteed. Put it on your resume, give a certificate, all of it. Job done.
Yeah, Bert and Ernie. Oh my goodness, those are so bad. I looked at this and just said, this is a person. You forgot cloud architect because it's experience in designing scalable.
It's hard to remember it all.
Cloud platforms, and it lists all of them.
Yeah,
it does, or equivalent.
Yeah, this is what we're facing, though. This is for a head of AI.
About?
A head of AI.
This person is being recruited for $1 million+ compensation package in any other company as just a staff or principal engineer. Like they don't need the headache that goes along with being a head of AI. They can get 10 times this salary just to be a staff engineer working on generative AI projects and all of the other stuff that they're being asked for in this job description. They don't even have to deal with that. They don't.
You've seen the wages in Europe, honestly, and we wonder why there's a brain drain.
Yeah, I mean, the U.S. will literally send a jet for it. I mean, that's where Zuckerberg and some of these guys are. They will send the jet. They're like, oh, if you want to come and interview,
you're for saying, dinner.
Can we do this interview over Zoom? Zoom. Man, I'm sending my Lear.
The limo's outside, man. Just literally fall out your front door and get in it.
My
your suit's already in the car.
To take you to a chateau. These guys are trying to recruit you for $100K. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
CEOs need a reality check. They really do. There is a large percentage of companies who have figured out hiring. They've come to their senses, but there's still
I hope so.
This massive, and like I said, 2016. I started talking about this in 2016, and still there is a significant enough percentage that if you go through 10 or 15 job descriptions, you'll find one of these. It's just absolutely delusional.
They're bangers and they're
completely
delusional. Unicorns don't exist, folks. I'm really sorry. I'm gutted to let you know.
Who are they trying to recruit? Andrew Ng? I mean,
I didn't want to be the one to tell you, they
yeah,
just don't exist. I'm
I
sorry.
need Jeffrey Hinton, paging Jeffrey Hinton. Would you please take a 96% pay cut and work
Uh,
for my no-name consulting company, Andrew Ng,
oh,
Jeffrey Hinton, Jan LeCun.
what
Please report to
I
my
just,
startup.
Finn, I've just remembered the funniest bit. I've got to say it
Yes,
because I'll forget it. What,
yes,
what did I
yes.
do with it? What did I do with it? Oh, it must be here somewhere, unless I deleted it. Oh,
While you're looking
it
for
was.
it, soft skills and culture fit.
Do
Yes,
it.
doer mindset, bias for action, ownership mentality, collaborative attitude, growth oriented. You'll continue to learn new algorithms, architectures, and engineering best practices. You encourage team members to do the same, even though we are not giving you a team. I mean, this is
Oh,
just the
it's unreal,
worst.
isn't it?
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
experience. So you must have experience publishing papers, and then it lists the biggest NLP
Yeah.
conferences
Oh
on
yeah.
the
Yep.
planet. But it
Yep.
also says, but also ship MVPs fast, so don't waste time on academia. Basically, so it's
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. No. No. So
Basically, this is
academic,
make
but
sure you
not.
get up,
Yep.
spin up a prototype for us, take it to market, read all of the papers that have come out today. Make sure you do a bit of AGI on the weekends as well. But don't worry about academia because you're going to be pretty busy. So
Soft
it's
super
like,
intelligence. Just a little soft super intelligence work. We have these HR departments that are truly run by people that are delusional. We really
yeah,
do. They look at a job specification like this and they're like, ship it. When really you should have an HR team that looks at this and says, there's just no way. I mean,
it's just
what's the
got.
point
I
of
mean, to
having
anybody with
talent?
any, it's got red
Yeah,
flags everywhere, isn't it?
yeah.
It's
I mean, and I love that idea. Next week we have to do this. We have to, maybe the
yeah,
midsection or something for
yeah,
next week. We got to do here's a one-liner. Good
yeah.
luck. You need to defend it. That would be
You got to defend
amazing.
this. Yeah,
Oh yes, we're doing that next
yeah,
week.
yeah.
But
Okay.
this is what's out there. So if I could just, I'm going to stop making fun of you for 10 seconds, and I'm going to sort of come out and this is me being friendly. Your business will at some point, even if you do find this person, your business will not succeed if it lives on the back of one person. So let's just be realistic. Even if you find this person and this person stays for 6 months, this person is going to burn out almost immediately. And as soon as anyone realizes how talented this person is, it's not a joke. Like a limousine pulls up, someone really important gets out of the limousine and says, "Hey, come work for me." And I will give you, oh, they're paying you 100K. How about I pay you 10 times that? Why
Mm,
don't, and you don't have to run anything anymore. All I want you to do is be a staff engineer, focus on the tech, which is I know what you love. And that's the pitch. They're going to poach this person immediately. And all you're going to have done is set yourself back 6 months because this person is literally just going to disappear. They're not going to help you transition. They're not giving you 2 weeks notice. Just trust me. This person is taking a job where the signing bonus is bigger than what they've made the last 3 years,
yeah.
or what they would make in 3 to 4 years working for you. So they're gone. And you need to build a team around this person. You need to pay this person. You need to lower your expectations of who you can find and realize that this person's not sending their resume. In reality, these people do exist. We don't send resumes. We don't. I don't have a resume. I'm not sending your business a resume. You can send me a job offer. That's how it works. If you are at this phase in your career where you can do everything that's on this, and I'm looking at this and there's stuff I can't even do. Started in this field in 2012 and have been working in technology for 30 years. There's stuff in here I can't do. Terrible, isn't it? All right. All right, we've
Dear.
beaten
Anyway,
this up enough, but I
yeah,
needed
yeah,
we had to put this one in. This is
yeah.
so bad. Oh, all right, we've beaten it up enough. But just
Ah,
friendly
no,
advice. This
good
doesn't
fun.
work. Dear companies, don't do this anymore. All you're going to do is end up here and we're going to embarrass you publicly. At some point there will be a company big enough that we will name and shame.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So thank you, Stuart. This was I needed a laugh today. This
yeah.
was more than a laugh. This was an opportunity to mock and ridicule, and oh, deservedly so.
Oh, it's great. It's so satisfying, isn't it?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's on Spotify now.
Oh my
Spotify just
goodness.
sent me a "Hey, your account's been hacked" email, so I have to
We
figure this thing
really
out.
should be making an effort of some kind. Anyway,
Our episode was so controversial, someone hacked the account. 3 people saw it, and one of those people was so outraged they hacked the account.
I've just wasted
Major
an hour,
Spotify.
hour of my life. I can't get back on this. You know what I mean? That's what they were thinking. Anyway,
All right, this has been great. Thank
love
you,
it.
everybody, for joining. Thank you. Appreciate you going through this with us yet again. Hope you enjoyed the experience. We want viewer letters. We want some
Oh
DMs.
yeah,
We want some requests.
yep,
So definitely start the feedback coming. I'll
yep.
open up the comments, as dangerous as that is. I will
Do
allow
it.
for the comments, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully this week it'll be a little bit more professional. No hacks of Spotify accounts, and we'll put this up on like a formal thing for YouTube instead of it's just on my channel. Here you go.
Yeah. Wow, we're
Yes,
going to
we will.
professional. Did you notice I put a shirt on?
Oh, I did too.
I
I
have
did too.
actually
Yeah,
made the effort, my
I
side,
appreciate
to
that. I appreciate
professionalize.
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
really going for this.
I did my hair, and people don't realize like when we tape these things. So it's Stuart called it out. It's like 2 a.m. here. So that. uh, yes. All
Love it.
right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. See you next week. We hope.
Yep.
As long as we don't get canceled. We'll see you next week.
Bye.